How to immigrate from Nigeria to United States. In general, someone who wishes to immigrate to United States must have a petition first approved by USCIS that moves to the consulate. However, you also can come here with a student visa or some other non-immigrant visa and get ways to a green card from inside the United States. So we're going to talk about that today. My name is Marina Shepelsky, and I'm an immigration attorney and the founder of Shepelsky Law Group. An individual who has an approved petition, so we'll start with the petitions, and a priority date that is current for immigrating can interview with the consulate and can get an interview scheduled and then be approved to come here with an immigrant visa. But first, let's talk about the non-immigrant visas. Let's talk about each one a little bit and talk about how you can start by coming here as a non-immigrant. A non-immigrant is somebody who comes to the United States for a short period of time. It's temporary, so they're called non-immigrant visas. Let's start with the E1 visa, which is a treaty country trader visa when you come to the United States to trade between Nigeria and the United States. For example, we had a client who had a car dealership in Lagos, and he got an E1 as an investor who was coming to trade with the United States with car parts and everything related to cars. The first step is to file the I-129 petition. That gets approved by USCIS, and then the case goes to the U.S. consulate and is usually processed there for another few weeks. E2 visa is similar. It's also for people from Nigeria who are coming to the United States as an investor, but rather they're just like buying a business and will operate a business here, and you don't have to prove so much that you personally will be trading with Nigeria. The same thing. The first step is the I-129 non-immigrant petition. That's usually the employer petition. You could file it for yourself for the E-visas, and then you'd have your interview with the consulate in Lagos. The F1 student visa is for those people who apply to a college or university or some sort of a higher education institution in the United States, or even like a private high school for young kids, or some other private school, and the school sponsors them to come here. So as you can see from a lot of these visa types, you either need to sponsor yourself, for example like the E1 visa, or you will need an employer or a school to sponsor you, right? So a lot of these visas need sponsorship. The next visa is the J1 visa. It could go either way. It could be either for doctors or physicians. You will need a hospital or a medical clinic in the United States to sponsor you, or you can be a student who's coming to spend a summer or like another season here in the United States, and then those students can travel a little bit around the United States. That's called the J1 Work and Travel Program. Then is the M1 visa to come to do training and education in the United States. Again, you need a sponsor. You need a company to sponsor you, or an institution, an educational institution. The B1, B2 visa is usually the most common visa people use to come to the United States from Nigeria, and many of them remain here or they go back and forth. It's a tourist visa. It's a visitor visa. Right now, the embassies are operating on a limited schedule, and it has to do with COVID and other situation, details in Nigeria. And unfortunately, I checked before starting this video, the current waiting time for a tourist visa in Lagos is 720 calendar days. It's almost 2 years for a tourist visa appointment. In other words, if you want to go on their website and schedule an appointment, a regular appointment is going to take you 720 calendar days. But I think in reality, it's less. And if you have an emergency and you need to come urgently to the United States, you can also get an urgent appointment, but you'd have to prove your emergency and your urgency. The H-1B visa is a work visa for people with a bachelor's degree or above, or at least 4 years or more experience, the more the better, in a specific field where you're a professional, and we need people like that in the United States. And there's the visa lottery for the H-1B visa, except for the higher degree people who have master's degrees they don't have to do the lottery. There's a separate quota. So there's a quota for even those people. The H-2 visa is for seasonal workers. They're skilled workers, but they don't need to necessarily have a bachelor's. The H-3 visa is for people who are trainees or special exchange education visa holders. And sometimes those are for like exchange students and training and something. And that's a non-immigrant visa, as all the other non-immigrant visas that I mentioned so far. It starts with the I-129 petition, and it takes at least 6 months to process. The L1 visa is for people who are transferring intercompany inside their company, and usually it's for, you know, very necessary personnel or managers or above. The K1 visa is in my list, but it's an unusual visa. It's actually, if you think about it, a family petition. It's the Fiancé Visa. You start by filing the I-129F petition. The petitioner has to be U.S. citizen, single man or woman, and they are saying to the government that, hey, my boyfriend or girlfriend, my fiancé, we're engaged, lives in Nigeria. Please allow them to come here for 90 days. And in those 90 days, we'll figure out if we want to get married or not. If we get married, the next step is to file for a green card inside the United States. It's still called a non-immigrant petition, interestingly enough, but, you know, it is for immigrating to the United States. So it's kind of tricky. It's a non-immigrant visa, but it's still kind of a family petition. Why I-129F. The R1 visa is for religious workers like priests, pastors, monks, anybody who works in church, a choir director. And you start with the I-129 petition, and then you can either get it done at the border, but that means you have to come here with some sort of visa into the United States, or you can just get it filed first, the I-129. When that gets approved, you go to the embassy to get the visa. The P1 visa is for only artists and athletes mostly who are coming to the United States to compete in sports events or competitions, or they're coming to perform at some festival or some concerts. Those are widely used to come here for a short period of time to do an event or like a concert series. It's a long time process, but you could do premium processing for this. Then there's the O visa. The O1 visa is for people with extraordinary ability. They're stars of their field, and sometimes people file for themselves. So you could either do a petition by an employer. So let's say somebody wants to hire, like a gallery wants to hire an artist. That's an O1 visa. Or you could sponsor yourself. You could say, I'm such an extraordinary artist. I'm known all across the world. Here are some Google articles about me, and I deserve to be a self-filer, to be self-petitioning for myself. Then there's T visa for people who proved that they were victims of human trafficking to the United States. Then there's a U visa for victims and witnesses of serious crimes who actually cooperate with the police and district attorney to help put the bad guys in jail. They get the U visa. However, the wait is really long with the U visa. It's about 5 years actually. We talked about the non-immigrant visas, the temporary visas. Let's talk about actually immigrating and getting a green card in the United States. Number one is the most popular way. It's called the PERM process. PERM is where the employer first has to advertise the job to U.S. citizens and green card holders right here, and only if they can prove they couldn't find anybody in America to do that kind of work they're looking for, then they file the employer's immigrant petition on your behalf. So you need to show that you have experience, you have education that they need, that they try to find someone like you first here in the United States. They couldn't find them. Now you're coming, they want you to come and work with them and get a green card because you need to work for them. It's a pretty long process, and it takes about 1.5 years. Also, there's the National Interest Waiver petition, where you are such an incredible professor or scientist or somebody who does research or just in business, you're so incredibly outstanding that you're coming here would benefit United States. So it would be in our national interest to waive that whole thing that I was just talking about with PERM, about asking the Labor Department to certify the job and not having to look for American employees for this job. Because you're a star. You're so incredible. You can either self-file through the national interest waiver or have an employer file for you, or even like a college or a research institution or a hospital asking for you to get a green card, because it would be in the national interest of the United States to have a professional such as yourself, such an expert, to come here. Then there's the EB1 and EB2 petitions for extraordinary and outstanding ability. Again, these are for superstars, green cards for superstars in their field. Then we talk about the family immigration, family unification. You can get green cards through family using the I-130 petition as the first step. Number one, U.S. citizens file for parents, spouses, and children under 21. These are the immediate relative categories. They're the quickest and there's no wait. Number two, U.S. citizens can file for adult single children and married children over 21, obviously, and that takes between 8 to 12 years. There's a wait for those categories. Number three is green card holders who can file for spouses and kids under 21. Right now, that category is current, so it's going to take about a year and a half for your kid to get here or your spouse to get here, and it's considered pretty quickly. And finally, for the family unification is when green card holders file for single kids who are adults over 21, and that takes about 8 years right now. If you are married to a U.S. citizen or even a green card holder, we can file for VAWA for you, which is Violence Against Women and Men Act, and allows people who are married to citizens or green card holders from Nigeria or anywhere else to get green cards by themselves without their spouse cooperation. You can get this VAWA whether you're in Nigeria or whether you're in the United States. And another category that also files under VAWA is parents of adult U.S. citizen kids who are abusing them. So if you are in that category, you also can get a green card. And you could be in Nigeria or here. Both ways, you'll get a green card through that relationship. Now, asylum. Asylum is the final thing that I want to discuss. Asylum is if you came to the United States first with some other visa, or you got yourself to the U.S. border in Mexico or Canada, and you ask USCIS or ICE or whoever is the U.S. officer at the border for asylum. You actually have to say, I'm afraid to return to my home country, Nigeria, and you have to show it's because of your race, nationality, religion, social group, like if you're in a specific group of people or LGBTQ or whatever, or if you are a specific religion that's being abused in Nigeria, you can get asylum, and you would have to prove your abuse was directly because you were in this protected category. And finally, if your spouse or a parent got asylum and filed the I-730 petition for you, it's a family petition in the asylum category, then you will get an immigrant visa and come here with asylum status. So those are the ways, the general ways to come to the United States. Maybe I skipped something, but I think I covered almost everything. I hope this video is helpful to you. Please share it with your friends, and we welcome your comments or your questions, your stories in the comments. Please comment below, and please subscribe to our channel. This way you'll be the first to find out when I release new videos, and you'll get a notification. You can read our community posts, and you will be in the know about all the latest immigration news that I cover weekly. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.